Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we are going to be talking about my Week 4 wide receiver start or sit decisions in every single matchup for Week 4 of the 2020 fantasy football season. We're going to discuss the guys that I want to start, the guys I want to sit, the reasoning why I like them, or why I dislike them, and want you guys to sit them down on the given week during their matchups. So we're going to go over matchups from Thursday, Sunday, as well as Monday to try to give you guys the best shot at winning your Week number 4 matchup. So if you guys do end up enjoying this video and you have a great time, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, I put out content every single day to help you guys win your 2020 fantasy football championship. But right before we get into it, I'd like to give you guys a word from my friends and my sponsor over at OverlayDFS.com. OverlayDFS.com is my favorite place to play daily fantasy football. Now, why is that, Nick? It's because it is the easiest place to play and the simplest. All it is one player versus another player, plus or minus the spread. Now, some games don't have a spread. Other games do have a spread. It's very simple. Which player scores more fantasy points, plus or minus the spread? For instance, here, we have Ezekiel Elliott versus Nick Chubb. Who scores more fantasy points? Ezekiel Elliott minus 3 points or Nick Chubb plus 3 fantasy points? It's so simple that anyone can do it. It's so easy. You guys do all this research to win your weekly matchups in fantasy football. So why not make some additional cash on OverlayDFS.com? Make sure you guys check that out. Link down below in the description. And we are back. Please make sure to check out OverlayDFS.com. Link down below in the description. Let's get right into it. Week 4 wide receiver start or sit decisions. We begin here with the Denver Broncos at the New York Football Jets, the Thursday night snooze fest. Now, in this game, if there's anyone that I would start, it would be Jerry Jeudy. Now, I am very much worried about the quarterback play there in Denver because I've never even heard about that quarterback before he started a game last week. So, with that said, I still think if you're in a deeper kind of league, you can fire Jerry Jeudy out up against the New York Football Jets since that defense is so atrocious. Just understand that it is definitely a very big risk in this game. For the rest of the wide receivers, it is just an absolute dumpster fire. KJ Hamler, I don't feel comfortable enough starting him. Jamison Crowder, if he plays, I don't even know if I'd feel comfortable starting him. Seems like he's going to miss some time. Chris Hogan, Braxton Berrios, it just seems like there's no one in this game that you even really want to start at wide receiver. I expect this game to be very low scoring, a absolute snooze fest. Like I said, you may fall asleep in your chair watching this game like your dad used to when you were younger watching the fucking football games because he got tired because he wakes up at like 6 in the morning for no reason. So with that said, I think Jerry Jeudy is a okay start in this game, but I don't really love it considering I feel like this game is going to be very low scoring. Next game here, we got the New Orleans Saints at the Detroit Lions. In this one, this is a case of does Michael Thomas play or not if you want to start him. So obviously right now I have no idea if Michael Thomas plays or not. I would lean on the way of no because they're playing the Lions, but I almost feel like they need a win, so maybe he does end up playing. And if he does end up playing, fire him up. This is a great matchup for him up against the Detroit Lions. We saw last week DeAndre Hopkins go absolutely sicko mode on their ass, so I think Michael Thomas should be able to put up a big game here this week if he plays. But obviously, if he doesn't play, you got to sit him down. Kenny G, Kenny Galladay, Kenny Bones, whatever you like to call him for the Detroit Lions, came back last week and had a nice game. He had a nice touchdown catch that was nowhere near him. The ball missed him by a mile. It went right over his head like an airplane joke, and the guy ended up reaching back and jumping up and catching the ball, so that was very impressive out of Kenny Galladay, and I think that Kenny Galladay puts up another solid spot here up against the New Orleans Saints. We saw the wide receivers of the Green Bay Packers have a field day up against them on Monday night. Now, for Marvin Jones of the Lions, I just don't know what to do with him. Now, he does perform better with Kenny Galladay on the field, but he has had a lot of down games to start the season, so I'm not sure how confident I am starting him on this week. Out of all these other guys that are on the bench here, that are sits here for the Saints, I would prefer Marvin Jones out of a lot of them, and if you ask me a question, maybe I'd prefer Marvin Jones, but I just don't feel like I'm ultra confident in him this week. For the Saints, I'm also going to be sitting down Traquan Smith and Emmanuel Sanders. It's very unclear to me which guy is the wide receiver 2 on that team. Week 1, it seems like it's Traquan Smith. Week 2, it seems like it's Emmanuel Sanders. Last week, it seems like it's Emmanuel Sanders. So I really have no idea how to justify my thoughts between these two guys. So I'd probably just sit both of them down. But obviously, if Michael Thomas misses, you can go with the higher upside pick of playing one of them. But just don't be surprised if they have a shit game because it seems like this offense in New Orleans is without Michael Thomas is just ran straight through Alvin Kamara. Next game up here, we got the Los Angeles Chargers going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa Bay, Tom Brady's home Tampa. So, in this game, I like Keenan Allen for sure for the Los Angeles Chargers. Keenan Allen has been balling the fuck out. Last week, he went balls deep in that Carolina Panthers defense, even though they ended up losing the game. Keenan Allen looks very good with Justin Herbert, the pervert, at the quarterback position. As long as Justin Herbert is the starting quarterback there, I'd feel very confident starting Keenan Allen. The Bucs defense, not the greatest defense in the league, and Keenan Allen is one of the crispiest route runners in the NFL, and I think he's going to be able to put up a potential top 10 week here up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. For the Bucs, Mike Evans would be the start. Seems like Chris Godwin is going to miss serious time this week, or not this week, but like maybe 2 or 3 games after that injury with his hammy. It seems like they don't want to rush him back. They feel fine starting just Mike Evans. So Mike Evans is going to be a start considering he's clearly the number one look on the team. He hasn't balled out completely. Last week he had 2 catches, 2 touchdowns. The week before he had 1 catch and I believe 1 touchdown. So he hasn't been getting all that much more involved, but I feel like he's going to be much more involved this week up against the Los Angeles Chargers. I'm be sitting down Mike Williams of the Chargers. I just don't feel like Herbert and him have that connection just yet for me to feel comfortable starting him in a matchup. Next game here, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, this game seems so unexciting, right, to many people, but this is a matchup that I'm really looking forward to see if Gardner Minshew is able to bounce back and to see if Joe Burrow is able to get his first ever win in an NFL uniform. Last week, obviously, up against the Philadelphia Eagles, that game went all fucking day long. You're like, oh, it's going to end here, right? The Eagles are going to kick this field goal, and then the Eagles fucking do some type of, what was it? They, like, accidentally jumped when they went to snap the ball, and then, boom, they're back too far. It made no sense. The Bengals end up tying in this game. So I want to see Joe Burrow's first ever win. I think it may be here up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars defense is not so hot, and Tyler Boyd should be able to have an excellent game up against those Jaguars DBs. Now I understand, Nick, why are you not starting AJ Green? Because AJ Green has been absolute dick cheese and has done diddly squat the last couple of weeks if you started him. So my thought process is even up against the Jaguars, even in a juicy matchup, I'm not starting him. I'm just not going to start him because I do not feel confident in it at all. It seems like Joe Burrow's putting the ball right on the money, a perfect dime, and AJ Green's just not getting to the ball. He just doesn't look the same as he has in the past, so I'm sitting him down in this game for the Jaguars. DJ Chark probably going to miss this game as well, so Laviska Shenault and Keelan Cole are going to be sits as well for me in this game, even if they do have better type of matchups. Next game here, we got the Minnesota Vikings versus the Houston Texans. Now, is this game going to happen? I still have no fucking idea. How you should go about it is I would try my best to make sure that you don't rely on anyone in this game for your lineup, to make sure that you are ready and fired up to play without the players in these games, as well as the Steelers game, because that game may miss as well going up against the Tennessee Titans due to the corona outbreak. Now, we should know as you guys are watching this, we should know later today, if not tomorrow, how the league is going to go about doing this, if they're going to delay it to Monday, or overall what is going to happen. So, in this game, I'm going to be starting, if it happens, Adam Thielen of the Minnesota Vikings. I understand last week he did have a down game, but I expect a big bounce back from Kirk Cousins' best buddy, his best compadre, his number one target on the team, Adam Thielen, up against a not-so-good Houston Texans defense. For the Texans, Will Fuller has had 2 kind of dud games in a row. Well, he didn't have a dud last week. Week 2, he did absolutely atrocious, put up a goose egg up against the Minnesota Vikings defense. I feel like that defense is just terrible. It's terrible. They used to have a bunch of pieces that were name-worthy. Now, those guys are all scattered across the NFL, so it seems like Will Fuller is going to be able to have a big matchup here, given they play. Justin Jefferson did have an amazing week last week. He double-tapped that ass of the defense last week, but at the end of the day, I'm not ultra-confident starting him this week, but if there was a week for him to ball out, again, it would be this week up against the Texans defense. I'll be sitting down Brandon Cooks and Randall Cobb as well. I just don't feel ultra-confident in Brandon Cooks. Randall Cobb I actually feel more confident in than Brandon Cooks, because Brandon Cooks just has not gotten involved thus far this season, really, with Deshaun Watson. Maybe it's just a case of them not having the greatest chemistry, since Randall Cobb, as well as actually, I think Randall Cobb was in Dallas last year, so I guess he just has not developed that connection with Brandon Cooks yet, since he's new to the team. Next game here, we got the Seattle Seahawks at my Miami Dolphins. Now, I love this game. I'm fired up about it, but there's 2 clear starts in this game, and that's the Seattle Seahawks wide receivers, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. Now, I understand DK Metcalf absolutely fumbled the bag last week running into the end zone, started hitting with the star stut, and then got the ball fucking smacked right out of his hand. He said, "Dikembe, no, right in his face," and they ended up winning the game still, but DK Metcalf, obviously a mistake that motherfucker will never make again in his life up against the Miami Dolphins. This is a very juicy matchup, just like here for Tyler Lockett. Both these guys are must starts this week up against the Miami Dolphins. Not very complicated. The Dolphins defense not amazing. Seems like Byron Jones may miss this game as well, so that would have even more of an impact on DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett having a field day here up against the Miami Dolphins. I do like Devontae Parker in this game up against the Seattle Seahawks. It seems like this game could be a higher scoring affair. Now, I'm not saying that the Dolphins are going to end up winning this game, but I would not be surprised if this was just a one-score game with the Dolphins being able to keep up with Ryan Fitzpatrick. So I like Devontae Parker in this game as well. I'm sitting down Preston Williams as well as Isaiah Ford for the Miami Dolphins. I just am not completely bought in on Preston Williams yet. I told you guys to pick him up on the waiver wire because you sit him this week, you let him ride the pine, and then once he proves it to me here, if he can prove it to me here that he's going to be seeing a lot of targets again and that he's going to be catching the ball, then I will feel comfortable starting him next week. But for right now, I do want to sit him on my bench. Next game here, the Steelers at the Les Titans. Now, is there a game here? I have no idea. Again, this is a case of get ready to not have these guys in your lineup. Juju Smith-Schuster here would be a start in this case, though. Clearly, the number one guy there, Deontay Johnson, may end up missing this game in the concussion protocol. With that said, if he ends up missing, this could be a very good case of Juju Smith-Schuster getting a zillion targets. Deontay Johnson, if he plays, though, to me, would be good to go. It's just a concussion. If he clears the protocol, there's no worry about kind of any depletion in production. And the Titans are not even going to be able to practice until Saturday. Like, they're not even allowed in the facility, so they're Zoom practicing for this game. This could be a big game for the Titans, or not for the Titans, for the Steelers, I should say, if it ends up happening. Corey Davis for the Tennessee Titans with A.J. Brown missing a decent amount of time. Seems like he's pretty much a must-start in a lot of scenarios. Here he gets the Steelers, though, a very tough matchup for him. I would start him if I was in a tougher scenario, though. For the Steelers, if Deontay Johnson was to miss, you probably could play James Washington. He would be the fill-in. He was the guy that started eating like his name was Ezekiel Elliott after Deontay Johnson ended up going down. So he would kind of be a start in that scenario. Chase Claypool, the rookie, not going to be starting in my lineups this year, probably at all, unless something tragic was to happen to Juju and Deontay Johnson. Next game here, we got the Browns at the Dallas Cowboys. And speaking of travesties, who likes getting shit straight on their face? It's Odell Beckham Jr., and he's going to be an to start in this game because Odell Beckham Jr. did it. He did it week 2. He fucks the shit out of the Cincinnati Bengals. He does it raw, right? Then what does he do the next week? Nothing. That's right, nothing, because that's just what he does. He does good in prime time, and there's a disappearing act the other times. So I'm starting him here up against the Dallas Cowboys because this is a good matchup to have a higher scoring type of game, but I would not be surprised if Odell Beckham Jr. shit the bed in this game. He may need some huggies after this one. For the Cowboys, I'm firing them all up here up against the Browns. Could be a very pass-heavy game here. CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup. If I was to order them, I feel like I'd feel most confident starting Amari Cooper, then CeeDee Lamb, then Michael Gallup. But with Amari Cooper, again, you guys have to note, this year he's been very consistent. In the past, he's been kind of the inconsistent wide receiver who has a couple of good games in a row, then really shits the bed a couple games in a row, then starts to play good again. So with that said, that maybe this is the time where Amari Cooper does nothing and plays bad, but he has not shown that so far this season. So you can feel confident firing him up in this game. I'm going to be sitting down Jarvis Juice Landry in this matchup. Just hasn't looked the same since he got hurt a couple of weeks ago. Maybe he's still dealing with an injury and playing kind of hurt. With that said, I'm definitely going to sit him down because I do worry about him still playing kind of hurt. Next game here, we got the Arizona Cardinals at the Carolina Panthers. Kyler Murray last week was doing up against the Lions his best Jameis Winston interception, throwing the ball right to the other team when it was clear that the guy was fucking covered. But with that said, DeAndre Hopkins still balled out. DeAndre Hopkins is going to ball out every single week. It is clear that the moving from Houston to Arizona doesn't mean jack of all shit for DeAndre Hopkins. He's still going to be peppered with targets on a weekly basis, and I expect DeAndre Hopkins to put up a big game here. Nothing less than excellence from DeAndre Hopkins here up against a Panthers defense that is not very good. DJ Moore here, I expect to have a good game as well. Now, he has been very inconsistent week 1 and 3, not very good. Week 2, pretty fucking good. So here up against the Arizona Cardinals, a game that I think could be pretty high scoring. I expect DJ Moore to have a bounce back game here. Robbie Anderson, playing very consistent on a weekly basis, has been balling out on the usual. I like Robbie Anderson in this matchup as well. Just seems like I was really wrong on Robbie Anderson. I was kind of off of him on the waiver wire when he was being a guy to pick up. I was like, you know what? He's either a 0-point guy or a 20-point guy on a weekly basis, and he just has not shown the fact that he's going to get shut down in these games. So I like Robbie Anderson here with definitely a whole lot of upside up against the Arizona Cardinals. I'm going to be sitting down Larry Fitzgerald in this game. Just seems like you cannot start him or Christian Kirk in any type of matchup. It seems like it's just DeAndre Hopkins or bust for the wide receiver core in Arizona for fantasy-wise. Now, allegedly, the Carolina Panthers were supposed to be using Curtis Samuel more. The coaches were talking about, we're going to get him more usage. Just wasn't more involved last week up against the LA Chargers, so I don't really expect him to get all that much usage or be a worthy fantasy start on a weekly basis unless anything was to happen to Moore or Robbie Anderson. Knock on wood there. Next game here, we got the Indianapolis Colts at the Chicago Bears. Before I get into that, if you guys have enjoyed thus far, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And you've made it this far, so hopefully you have ended up enjoying. Colts at the Chicago Bears. Now, last week, this is probably the craziest story ever because the Bears were 2-0 going into that game. They probably could have won the game with Mitch Trubisky. Now they're 3-0. The quarterback goes 2-0 and plays pretty well in the game and still gets benched for a 9-inch Nick Foles. But I love it for the fantasy wide receivers because they were legitimately shocked back into life. They arose like the Undertaker in the WWE. Allen Robinson and Anthony Miller are fantastic starts here up against the Indianapolis Colts. They don't have the greatest defense in the league, and 9-inch Nick Foles is going to bury the fucking body right in front of him. He is going to murder them Ted Bundy style. I love the Chicago Bears wide receivers in this game. Allen Robinson came out and balled out. He was sick and tired of kissing titties Mitchell Trubisky, putting him down in the dirt, and he arose and balled the fuck out. So I like Allen Robinson in this game as well as Anthony Miller up against the Colts. T.Y. Hilton, again, the New York Jets last week. This is the perfect matchup for him to ball the fuck out. In reality, doesn't do it. He doesn't do it. He is such a disappointment this season. I told you all not to draft him. I was so right about this situation. I'm not trying to be arrogant or something, but I was very right about this situation. It is a shit show situation in Indianapolis for T.Y. Hilton, so he's going to be a sit pretty much every week. Same thing goes with Zach Pascal. Is he? No, he can play. Perry Campbell pretty much probably not going to play at all this season. It just seems like a shit show for the wide receivers in Indianapolis. It seems like they're just going to be a very run-heavy team with Jotto God Taylor. Next game here, we got the Baltimore Ravens at the Washington football team. Now, the Ravens got dicked down by big man Pat Mahomes, who now has a kid, as well as his second kid, Lamar Jackson, because he absolutely eviscerates Lamar Jackson 3-0 up against him. Now they get the Washington football team. I understand Lamar Jackson and friends in Baltimore shit the bed last week up against the Kansas City Chiefs, but don't expect the same thing here up against the Washington football team. I expect them to put a dookie straight on their face, so I like the Ravens in this matchup. I think Hollywood Brown has a bounce back week after having two not-so-hot showings 2 weeks in a row. Terry McLaurin for the Washington football team, a must-start on a weekly basis, even going up against the Ravens defense. Even with kind of Dwayne Haskins not being the guy that we thought he could have been. Now he's not terrible, so that's why I do like Terry McLaurin. I think that he does look for Terry McLaurin down the field as well as in the red zone, so I think Terry McLaurin is a guy that you're going to want to be starting on a weekly basis. I'm sitting down with Willie Snead for the Ravens as well as Steven Sims for the Washington football team because none of those guys really show out. The two guys there are clearly the one wide receiver on the team that you would want to be starting. Next game here, we got the New York Football Giants at the L.A. Rams, and by God, this one may be a murder. A murder in Los Angeles. The Giants look atrocious. That defense could not stop anything. That defense is like using two fucking condoms at the same time. Now, you might think that would be safer, but in reality, it gives you the higher chance of it ripping. So not very safe at all. That Rams offense is potent, high potent. It's going to be sprinkling points down, raining points down on the New York Football Giants. Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods going to form an Eiffel Tower above that defense and fuck them all night long. I love Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods in this matchup. I'm sitting all the Giants wide receivers. I have no fucking idea what to do. Danny Dimes is going to be laying on that Danny ass all game long. I have no idea what to do with the Giants. Darius Slayton and Golden Tate definitely sits in this game. Next matchup here, we got an excellent one between the New England Deflatriots at the Kansas City Chiefs. I like Tyreek Hill in this matchup. Tyreek Hill last week up against the Ravens in that Monday night game made a beautiful catch, a magnifique catch. Bang! Catches it right over the shoulder. Beautiful throw from Patrick Mahomes. And you know Tyreek Hill may get shut down in this game. I wouldn't be surprised if he got shut down in this game because Bill Belichick is 50 shades of a fucking genius. This guy will figure out all week long how to stop Tyreek Hill, but I don't expect it to happen here. I think the guy's just too fucking fast for those Patriots corners. I think Tyreek Hill plays pretty good here. Julian Edelman, just a safe play on a weekly basis, good for 10+ points every single week, going even up against the Chiefs here. I think that Bill Belichick's going to be able to dissect a game plan to beat the Chiefs, which will involve Julian Edelman because he's the key number one wide receiver on the team. So I like Julian Edelman here going up against the Chiefs. And I'm going to be sitting down N'Keal Harry here, as well as McCole Hardman and Sammy Watkins and Demarcus Robinson. I understand McCole Hardman did play good last week. I want to see it twice in a row before I believe in it. If you want a huge fireworks to add into your lineup, a guy with a whole lot of upside to put in your flex that could completely win you your week by balling the fuck out, go ahead and start McCole Hardman. But if you're trying to diversify and make a safer type of lineup here, I'm going to go ahead and sit down McCole Hardman. Next game here, we got the Buffalo Bills at the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm going to be starting Stephon Diggs in this game. Stephon Diggs is an insta-lock to start on a weekly basis. Him and Josh Allen are looking like Tom Brady to fucking Randy Moss out there. That's what they are looking like. It is beautiful, and I think Stephon Diggs is in for another big week here up against the Raiders. Now, John Brown ended up getting tagged up in that game last week. Didn't play all that well. He had a goose egg, ends up getting hurt. I expect him to bounce back this week up against the Raiders. I'm going to be sitting down Cole Beasley in this game. He did have a good game, but I think that was due to John Brown being hurt. Hunter Renfrow also ended up scoring a tutty last week, but I don't expect him to really be all that useful up against a very tough Bills defense when he may be the number one wide receiver on the team who gets shut down by Tre'Davious White. Next game here, we got the Eagles at the San Francisco 49ers. Now, I am willing to start Greg Ward in this matchup, but he's got a bunch of question marks because he's Greg Ward. Okay? That's why. Now, if you're in a deeper league, you can definitely start him. The 49ers defense is tough, but I feel like the fact that they really have no wide receiver options there that are healthy, Greg Ward could definitely have a big game. Brandon Ayuk is going to be a start for me as well, ahead of all the other 49ers wide receivers. Now, the only worry with Ayuk is that he may get the Darius Slay treatment. In that case, if the reports are coming out later that, the PFF is telling us, Brandon Ayuk is going to get shadowed by Darius Slay, then I'm running to the fucking hills. But if he is not, I like Brandon Ayuk in this matchup. I'm sitting down to Deshaun Jackson, as well as the smorgasbord of wide receivers in San Fran before Debo gets healthy and seems like he may be able to play next week in week number 5. And here onto the final game of the week, the Monday night special between the Atlanta Falcons at the Green Bay Packers. Now, this one is going to be a rough watch on your eyes. Not for fantasy, but just in real life, because this is probably the last game the Falcons are coached by Dan Quinn, unless they miraculously win this one and then win like 6 more games, then Dan Quinn secures his job for a whole another year. I like Calvin Ridley in this game, though. He's just a lock every single week with 100+ yards. This guy, it's death, taxes, Calvin Ridley 100+ yards every single game. And up against the Packers defense, I believe he can do that again. Russell Gage ends up getting banged up last week in that game up against the Chicago Bears that they ended up losing, even though they were up by a zillion and should have won the game. Russell Gage, though, I do like if he plays. Julio Jones, to me, for the Falcons is going to be a sit because I do worry that he ends up missing this game. And the reports are that the injury may be more serious than was originally reported on. For the Packers, Devontae Adams seems like this would be a go-ahead nod for him. We should know more on Sunday, even though this game is a Monday game, how healthy he is going to be to make sure that you could construct your lineup based upon if Adams plays or not. If Adams doesn't play, I love Lazard in this game, even without Adams, or even with Adams in or not. I like Lazard in this game. This Falcons defense is just complete and utter dog shit. I'm going to be sitting down Julio Jones, like I said, in MVS for the Packers. I just don't feel like he's the number 2 guy. I feel like Lazard is, so I'm going to be happily starting Lazard in this game and sitting down MVS. So thank you guys all for watching this video. I hope that you guys had a tremendous and splendid time. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below if you ended up enjoying it, maybe on your screen as well. Check out overlaydfs.com. Link down below in the description. I love each and every single one of you motherfuckers, and I can't wait to see you guys later with the trade talk video in a couple of hours. Have a great rest of your guys' day, and I'll see you motherfuckers later. Goodbye!